the mighty River Trent. This is the Burton Joy stretch. It's a beautiful bit of water, this is. This is the Nelson Field, and I am on the bottom peg of the Nelson Field. The match runs downstream, past those trees there. But this is peg 16 today. And this can be a good peg, but conditions are against us. You can probably hear it's very, very windy. That's not the problem though. We've got quite a bit of extra water on the river. On the river, not the river. Quite a bit of extra water on the river. So there's a lot of pace. I don't think we'll be fishing too far out today. This is the Feeder Masters Super League last round. Our ringers team, we're winning the league. We've got a really big cushion of points as well because we've had a few good results on the other rounds, and we're hoping to do well today. So we've got Steve on the roadside further upstream, then we've got Phil. Might be able to see his grey van in the distance. We've got Adam downstream from me, and here we are. So let's talk through the swim to start with. We've had a bit of a chuck around with a bomb. I think we're going to fish short chuck for everything. Might catch a bream, might catch an odd roach, maybe even a barbel, but I think mainly dace out in the flow. Just a short chuck at like 15, 18 metres, something like that. And then down here, where it is quite deep, downstream, you can catch a few perch and eels here in normal conditions, so I'd be foolish not to put a few worms in to start with and see what happens. But then I do fancy putting a bit of hemp and maybe even some meat there. Maybe chancing my arm for a barbel late on. Talking of barbel, we've got a very, very famous barbel peg about 6-7 pegs upstream. There's a great peg. Lee Kerry and I have both done videos on that, and we've caught some beautiful fish on it. Today, Jamie Harrison or Nick Speed is on that peg, so they could have a fantastic day, whichever one of them is on there. So bait wise, let's have a look. It's so windy, hopefully you can hear me. We've got obviously some hemp, we've got more hemp, frenzied hemp seed, very, very oily, the stuff in the tins. We've got some meat for that barbel, we've got some worms for those perch, and then we've got a ground bait, which is frenzied hemp black, a bit of brown crumb. We've got some casters, some maggots, really simple. Plenty of everything you can see there. Might need to feed a lot of bait today. Right, let's have a look at the rods. So we've got a few rods set up. We've got a baiting up rod on the left hand side. We've got 3 rods for our main swim, because we don't know whether we're fishing for dace, bream, barbel. And then we've got our big boy animal rod, which is 8-pound main line, big hook for down the edge. 5 hours long. Plan is to get as many points as possible. I think we're up against it for a section win. I think top half of the section, maybe top 5 in the section would be a good result here. Wish me luck. Before putting a baited hook in the water, I always like to feed a little bit of bait on my main line. So on that main swim, 15 metres out in that flow, I'm going to put in 2 feederfuls of bait, large feederfuls, ground bait, few casters, few maggots. I just want to put in a little bit of bait just to try and gather a few fish into that area. I've learned from past situations that if you catch a fish very early on without actually putting any amount of bait in the swim, quite often that's you've only fished for a long, long time. You've just not spent enough time pulling enough fish into the area to create that competition. So 2 feederfuls of bait on that main line.
That short line is also fed. I've got a large bait up feeder. I'm going to put in chopped worms, few casters, and just cap it with a little bit of ground bait. Let it hit the bottom, shake it out. I've got a bait up rod, strong braid, strong rod, means I can be really direct and shake out that bait down the edge. I'm just doing that 5 or 6 meters out in that really deep water. Shelves off really quick here, and in normal conditions, when the river is a lot lower and clearer, this area is really good for perch and eels and some bigger fish. So hopefully there's still a few hanging around, even though the river is a little bit out of sorts. Starting on that main feeder line, I just don't know what to expect. Hopefully, we've got a chance of an early bream. I think on a lot of pegs on the Trent, whether you're on a noted bream peg or not, there is the chance of an early bream or big skimmer early on in the session. In the first 20 minutes, you've got a really good chance. So I always like to start on ground bait feeder, maybe switching to a block end feeder with more particles later on in the session, but ground bait feeder to start with is the way to go. Double maggot catches you any fish that swims on the river, so that's a great starting bait. Double maggot ground bait feeder. On this occasion, there didn't seem to be any big fish feeding in our area at all, so straight away we're getting bites from roach, dace, little fish like that. Not easy going, not as many bites as I expected, and we're having to wait for bites, but we're getting bites straight away. To give you an idea about the pace of the river, I'm fishing 15 metres out and I'm using 40 grams to hold bottom. Now, on a low, clear River Trent, sometimes you can get away with fishing 30 grams down the middle of the river. So there is some extra pace on the water. I'm using a braided main line, obviously a little bit thinner, hopefully reducing the amount of drag on the main line. You'll notice that I'm fishing to a line clip, so I have to hold my rod further back to hit the clip so I can feed a little bit of bow out into the river to just help that feeder hold bottom. After a few small fish on that main feed line, it's time to have a look shore. Perch are really greedy fish and they're fast on the bait, so I wanted to make the most of them. A nice long hook length, a size 14 hook, a really strong big hook, 2 big bits of worm. I've got a maggot feeder on this line that I'm going to load with a little bit of chopped worm and a few maggots, and just underarm it downstream, place the rod in front of me, and hopefully we can get a little run of perch. Obviously it's a feeder only competition today. In a normal situation I'd be using a pole and a flat float combination. Today I'd probably need a really heavy flat float, something like 20 grams, but you know that by using a float you can be far more accurate, you can place your bait in amongst the rocks and you've got less chance of snagging up. There's loads of big rocks on these pegs and that's one of the reasons that the fish love it here. It's obvious the whole river isn't fishing very well. Looking around, I can see plenty of people upstream and they're struggling for bites. I've had a couple of perch down the inside, nice little weight builders, 4 or 5 ounces, hungry, greedy fish, but those bites have run out really quickly. So, time to go back on the main swim, see if we can get a weight of small fish put together.
Very good, isn't it? You got 2 pounds? You got 2 pounds?
Back on the main swim, and there was the odd bite to be had. It wasn't easy going, not by Trent standards. We were having to work really hard, but we could get indications from small fish. Dace, small roach, nice little weight builders, and great in a team match because you just want to be putting fish in your net. The rest of the river didn't seem to be fishing very well, especially our little area and the section. The anglers that I was fishing against, they were struggling. So if I can just keep plugging away, keep catching a few fish, that's going to be a bonus. To keep bites coming, I've had to lengthen my hook length. I'm fishing a metre tail now, so a metre of line between the feeder and the hook bait. For whatever reason, fishing a longer tail, it gets you more bites. Just keeps your hook bait away from your main line. Maybe the fish are a little bit wary of your feeder, who knows. But a longer hook length definitely gets you more bites. The trouble with a longer hook length, especially when you're fishing for smaller fish, is that you're going to miss a lot of bites. So it's hard work. You're reeling in all the time. Sometimes you've got a fish on, sometimes you haven't, but you're casting in and out all day and trying to make things right and get into a nice little rhythm. Let's talk about the technique that I'm using today to catch these fish. So I'm using a line clip. By using a line clip on the reel, I can be reasonably accurate and I can build a swim. I've found that when I'm fishing for small fish in particular on the river, if you start casting a little bit wayward, you just lose your way. You split the fish up, makes it harder to put that weight together. So by using a line clip, we concentrate those fish into a nice area. Obviously, when you're using the line clip, it limits you. You want to put a bow in the line when you feeder fishing, because that way you can use less lead to hold bottom, and also you hit more bites by putting that bow in the line. The drag on that bow is what's going to spring your quiver tip back, dislodge the feeder, and hopefully hook the fish for you. You're fishing for drop back bites on the river. So what I want to do is when I cast in, I want to hit my line clip with my rod way behind me and then let the feeder hit the bottom. Only then do I gently bring my rod forward and put the rod on the rod rest. All the time I'm watching the quiver tip, because if I get a bite almost straight away, which quite regularly happens on the river, fish are on the feeder almost straight away and on that hook back almost straight away, I want to be able to see that bite and hit that bite. All too often, anglers will cast out, and almost for the first 20 seconds of the cast, they're not paying attention. And believe me, that's when you're going to get the most bites. Let's talk about the Superleague, because it's a fantastic event and we take it very seriously. We've got fantastic anglers fishing. We've got Steve Ringer, Phil Ringer, myself, Adam Wakeling. We've got people on the bank also who help us out massively. We've got Mark Eves, we've got Ken Hutchins, we've got Graham Morris, Matt Snodding. They come away with us, help us out enormously on these big events. The team's called Ringers Dragon Energy. We've got some backing from Dragon Energy. Again, when we go away on a big event, it's great to have someone like that behind us. Now, going into this last round of the Super League, we were 30 points ahead of second place. That's a lot of points to play with. So we knew that we just needed a nice steady result on the River Trent to hopefully see us win the league for the 5th time in 6 years. I was pretty relieved to find that my £5.10, my hard-earned £5.10, was enough for third in my 15 peg section. A couple of big fish further down. Frankie Giannicelli in my section had a great weight of smaller fish. And my mate, Lee Kerry, who fishes for the rival team, Feeder Masters Feeder Team, had a brilliant weight of fish. He also had a big barbel to go with it to win the section.
4 points in mainline match. And winners of the league, and listen, obviously the league, we've done the league. Five is the league. 6. Yeah. This team has won the league all but once, right? There's a reason they've done that. And I know that we've changed the format, and obviously in the final things have changed. They are currently the final winners. But this team has won the league this many times because they are the best speed team in the country. Alright? Here, this is a fact. 69 points, bring a baits dragon out. Well done. Nice.